You've presented me with a wonderful idea, mate. I'm going to put it into action later on, God willing, before I announce it. But yeah, so definitely. So the sniper has got sniper's got 2 tickets for 111, and how much is the bidding gone for the now?
It's 2 tickets for 111. Somebody graciously also threw in a wee ticket. I think it was a boy that was on the Celtic Dream show last week. He's got a political event to go to. He's threw his ticket in 115. There's a Live 8 DVD box set. There's a polo shirt. There's a Bellstar polo shirt I've thrown in. Still with the labels on it in case
anybody's
wondering
about the suicide sleeve. Is this all going for the same price? Is this all going for the one price?
It's all part of the same package, mate. And there's also Stevie C's thrown in some great Celtic cufflinks. You know, so there's a good wee package here, mate. You know, so currently it's about £125 the bidding at the moment. And if it could just be, and listen, I know things are tight, etc. for folk, but I'm sure folk could maybe sell their tickets to their mates who don't usually go to the games, and you could buy the tickets to get into 111 with a bucket hat brigade and get loud. You obviously wear a burqa or a face covering onesie in case you feel quite poetic and start busting into song, mate. You know. So that finishes at 10 tonight, mate. Hopefully it was going to be last night, but it's been stretched out. Hopefully I'll go into the G show at 8:15 and get the last push for the lads that are at work to maybe just pump it up a bit, you know. And I don't think MD will mind, because it's we've got to get these lads sorted, mate. I mean, I made a couple of tweeting points last night. You can see where the African, I mean, I'm not saying the British law justice or Scottish law justice is much better, but you can see how African law in South Africa during the apartheid years, how easily they must have well went to the same university, these judges studying it, mate. You know, just an absolute kangaroo court, chief, you know. And as I say, there's people saying in the chat room, I mean, whereas Celtic's failed tremendously in intelligence, the Dutch government's failed tremendously. I mean, what people don't realise is, obviously, there's lads in the chat room, maybe Stevie might phone in, whatever, but who were in there at the time. You know, come 5 p.m, there was a Dutch royal visit on in Dam Square, which entails a VVIP, very, very important person, which, as I said to you before, is heads of state or senior cabinet members, etc. So you can't tell me that a Royal Protection Squad is standing there, you know, armed to the teeth, watching this. This couldn't have been coordinated to say, oh yeah, by the way, we're just going to let X amount of undercover hooligan-clothed police officers steam into Dam Square. You know, they just didn't decide at 4 o'clock, all right, by the way, we've got, you know, the King and Queen of the Netherlands coming here, we better empty this square. You see what happens at George Square when these events happen. You know, it's all called filmed for days. So for a city that boasts, I mean, I've seen, and quite rightly so, there's been a lot of folk being quite anti-Dutch over it. And there's an element, I mean, obviously, the judge, the prosecutor is just doing his job, the judge and the Netherlands police, but I think the city fathers in Amsterdam have got away for so long, and how many put up. I tweeted last night, you know, where would the 6 lads have been? And obviously the other lads that were wounded and bitten and knocked down and stuff, where would they have been if we didn't have organisations like the Celtic Trust and FAC going to bat for their fans, and great accounts like the Celtic Research lads and that, you know, really getting things going and kicking it in, you know, mate. As the lads were saying in the chat room, we're seeing now the scums get reporters waiting at Glasgow Airport to basically try and interrogate our fans when they're coming off after the filth that they've written in their papers today about it, mate. You know, they're just exploiting the misery, and the clubs tooth and nail with these people. They let these so-called journalists into their stadium. Our media's strong enough now that we can project football games around the world, we can project our programmes around the world, our media. We don't need that. We don't need this filth soiling our stadium, mate, you know, but it's, I'd love to get those 6 lads, if they're in the position to, and anybody else that was over there and manhandled on that pitch on Tuesday night before the game, to show them a bit of support, mate. One of the few positives has been the galvanisation of the support. But I just think it's quite disappointing that it took a horrific incident or series of incidents like Amsterdam to actually awaken the Celtic to support to what actually happens to an element of our support, because our own supporters receive it home and away, domestically, following Glasgow Celtic. And I'm not just talking about guys who sing songs they shouldn't, guys in the Green Brigade, girls in the Green Brigade. I'm talking about our supporters' buses being stopped periodically, the ludicrous searches going into grounds, mate. You know, people pay money to go to these sporting events, but you're tired, you're paying top dollar to be treated like a hooligan before you even attend. You know, the only things, Celtic, Ajax, they all charge premier prices for a so-called premier product. The product this season on the park at Celtic Park is cash and carry. The support
What's up,
and security.
your street, then? Your partner's cash and carry. You should be singing a hymn sheet at the PLC. You should be on the
outrageous. Here, there's cash
You
and
should be on
carry.
the Scotch
Capital, there's
broth.
cash and carry.
You should be on the independent Scotch
carry,
broth.
cash and
Independent
carry.
Scotch broth. Here, by the way, I'm kidding you not. I'm getting more pro-independent Scottish by the day, mate. I tell you. By the day, by the very second, mate.
Do you know what I see it says about independence? I would rather somebody from Scotland made an arse of it instead of somebody like George Osborne allegedly snorting a bit of Colombian slim fast with a lady in a night sitting by his side. You know, some Eton or Harrow educated public schoolboy saying, "Oh yes, that's Scotland, let them go on with it." I mean, that the video I retweeted last night of fans of a new club giving their policy on independence, you know, and that Her Majesty brings in £20 million a year. You're looking at I mentioned South Africa earlier on. You look at the way that country re-energised itself. You know, it got rid of its demons and the terrible things like apartheid and the white supremacists who dictated that country since, you know, probably Cecil Rhodes arrived on those shores and helped start up the terrible stuff that happened. You know, the north of Ireland and Scotland, these are just the people who support the Germans who live in Buckingham Palace. It was ironic, when English fans booing the German national anthem on, you know, when they were playing in that game the other night, mate. You know, we've just got to get a go, Tommy, because, you know, would you rather just make an ass of yourself?
Do you know, I'm going to run in Pollock Shaw's Road and give the biggest bear hug to Nicola Sturgeon that she's ever seen in her life. I'm going to hug her and say, "Listen, I love you, Nikki. Come on, Viva Scotland, Visca Scotland, independence all the way." I'm going a one-man crackpot march all the way down to London, 425 miles, right into the seat of power. Arthur's seat, crackpot seat, we're taking over, mate. Viva Scotland, mate. Come on, William Wallace, I've changed my name.
Aye, but there's
Tommy
George
Wallace.
Galloway, right? Aye, but
Fuck
there's
Galloway.
George Galloway.
I'll get him on a lot of debate. I've changed, I've jumped ship. Where I don't know how many days to go. Independence, mate. I can't believe how stupid I was, because all the stuff I was saying, I'm not going to vote. There's no way I'm going to vote, right? Don't think I'm going to vote, because I'm not taking part in that part of the democratic shit. But I'm going to be shouting for the rafters for every other daft bastard to go out there and vote. Viva Scotland! I'm for chick young, chick dumb Scotland.
We've got to look at, I mean, obviously George, who's excellent when it comes to Celtic stuff, right? But this is a man who champions guys like Hugo Chavez and you know, men who went alone and got their country sorted. But he's sitting as an English MP dictating. Oh, sorry, he's not English, obviously. He's a member of Parliament in England. So, you know, and listen, and there's people, obviously, Jimmy Lawwell comes on your show and he makes great valid points. I mean, but there is, you look at Norway. I mean, Norway's just short of having 100 years independence from Sweden. You know, much as get the same weather climate as us, etc. They've done okay. They've done all right. You know, they've kept their own oil industry. You know, they've got, I know lads that work offshore. The Norwegian offshore developments are a lot more civilised than the Scottish ones. You know, if you go to Norway, people think, oh, Norway's really expensive. In Norway, you don't pay tax. What you pay is you pay your tax on what you buy. So if you buy a loaf of bread, you don't pay tax because it's an essential foodstuff. If you buy milk, you don't pay tax on it because it's essential foodstuff. If you buy 20 cigarettes, you get taxed heavily on it because it's a luxury.
See, and the whole thing went to pot in this country, right? there's certain things that should not be privatised. There's certain things that a society needs. There's a certain thing that government, right, is set up there. I mean, this whole bullshit that was spun, that little government and sit back and the government can't do anything, everything must be done by big business, was all bullshit, right? It's all total BS, because there's certain services and goods that the public always need. And the reason why government was set up, are part of it anyway, and should be there, good government and politicians is there to make sure that the public have got a service there. Like, you go to Germany, you go to anywhere like that, you know, the services that they've got are second to none. The transport, everything is just, you know what I mean? We don't, the people that run this country have shafted us for so long.
I think
it's been a whole bag of lies.
I think you've got to realise is people like the Germans, obviously, just the way they are, they're very efficient people. But you look at a country like France, which, you know, people slag off, etc., for being what it is. But France is so very left-wing still and so trade union strong. You know, if people don't like it, the ferries are off.
But the services, but the thing I'm talking about is, see, this thing about Norway and all that, things like services and goods that they shouldn't be sold off. The stuff that we sold off years ago, like, and foreign companies, you look at it, the French companies and the German and Italian, would you call it, companies have took over our companies that were nationalised. You know what I mean, are privatised.
Well, I'll give you.
Everything should be nationalised. Is that not the way forward, Don? Can I ask you, before you go on it, do you think that Scotland, if it was to go independent, that we could get enough people that we could nationalise the oil, nationalise, have our own mail service, have our own everything doing it ourselves? Do you think it's possible to do that?
I think the infrastructure used to be there, so it can come back again. It's no hard to start things back up. You know, I mean, see everybody really. I mean, you look at the scaremongering that goes on. It's saying, "Oh my God, we'd never survive." But I worked in Oman for a period of time, and what Oman's got is Oman has a lot of oil and no much else. You know, but I've said to you before, countries like Dubai, Emirates states like Dubai, 30 years ago got together. And they sort of went, we've got this amount of money that we're going to bring in. What we'll have to do is build golf courses, etc. So get a system set up where it's going to sustain us. But what Oman's got is they've got very, very isolated little communities outside the maybe 2 or 3 big cities. It's like the Scottish Highlands, only it's all desert basically. And what they've got is they've got a community set up where they've still got people who are nomad tribesmen who move every few months. And what they do is they have the government over there set up these little community centres. So if they know a certain tribe will spend, say, the month of May in this area, there's a primary school set up and there's a health clinic. And these kids leave their parents in the morning, go into their health clinics and go to their schools, air-conditioned buildings, and then at 3 in the afternoon they leave and go back to living in a tent with the camels, etc. And a lot of these kids are traumatised because they're sort of a wee bit westernised with air conditioning and whatever, and then they're going back to live in these conditions. But my main point is what they also have.
Get to your point. Was that going today with me bear hugging Nicola Sturgeon the day and independence?
No, listen.
Visca Scotland, you lost the plot. Fucking talking about nomadic Bedouin tribes. Where's nomadic Bedouin tribes going today with me bear hugging Nicola? You've lost the plot.
They have European standard hospitals with European doctors. And what they've got is the policy they have is if they walk in off the street for treatment and they can't be treated, there's a private jet that picks them up and takes them directly to Switzerland for medical treatment.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
This is a country who runs off solely off oil, and obviously there's new fields being found off the west of Scotland. And I know there's the economical difficulties where like certain oils being sold off, etc. like that. We've just got to go ourselves, Tommy, and get ourselves sorted out and get.
We need to nationalise it. The first thing we need to do is nationalise the oil, right, and then provide. See with that, as soon as we take that, then we give everything free for the public, right? Gas, electric, internet, right? Internet's free, super fast. Everybody, right, who's not got a job